Hello, everybody. This is Eliakim Cohen back with a really fun and exciting episode of Shiurim by the Sea. Today, we're going to do Gematrias, hidden words in the Torah, allusions, codes, a lot of fun stuff. You know, if you know that the Torah was given by God, and you know that the goal is to delve into the Torah and learn the Torah and make the Torah your whole life, you'd think that the creator of the world would put sort of things in there that those that are putting in the effort can find them. You know, it's sort of like cracking the codes, like World War II code breakers. So today we're just going to have a lot of fun. I sat there yesterday for a couple hours and just found one really exciting example of this after another. And the one I'm going to give at the end is going to blow your mind. Some of you might know this. The likelihood is you don't know the whole thing. So this is going to be a very fun and exciting lecture. You know, some of the lectures are very tough, trying to get everybody to wake up. Others are, the Torah is so beautiful. Hashem put so many beautiful things in the Torah, and he wants us to find them. And the benefit for us, we're in, such a later generation that these things have already been found. And they're just absolutely mind-blowing. And I think this is going to be a very exciting lecture for everybody. Got a very nice comment on a shir the other day, the Mida Keneged Mida shir. He said, another shir that leaves me virtually speechless, eyes wide open. Once I start listening, I don't want to stop. You know, it's like Pringles. Thank you. New perspective on the way to see the seemingly insignificant moments in our day. Keep on going, brother. That's why I do this, to get messages like that. Not because it feeds the ego, just, again, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I became religious after a 45-minute high-speed car chase on cocaine. I lived my entire life thinking I was a good Jew just because I thought I was a good Jew, and I loved Judaism, and I loved Israel, but I never put that love and passion into practice. And that's the significant gap and chasm that we see in the world today. There is a massive gap between the people that just think being a good Jew is being a good person, because who says what's good? You know, you might think you're a good employee and, your boss cans you the next day. God created the world. God gave us a Torah. That is the template and the basis for our lives. If you're going to spend your whole life ignoring the Torah, I mean, there's some people now out there that are probably even watching this that have never for 1 second read the entire Torah. You've read War and Peace. You've read, every Robert Frost poem. You've never read the book of life for the Jewish people. And that's the goal of these lectures. I want people to say, once I started listening, I couldn't stop. Because there's basically 3 rabbis that I listen to. That's the same thing. When I get a new message that they have a new lecture out, I'm so excited because I try to take 2 to 3 hour walks every day, listening to Torah lectures to get new ideas. The second I see that there's a new lecture, I look at the topic. I'm so excited. It's like the only thing that I want to do. So that's the goal. And it's because of the sponsors that this is possible. So this is sponsored by my dear friend Lisa. So she is sponsored now. This is her 40th lecture. And she's already sent sponsorships for 43. So I still have, thank God, 4 more lectures to do for Lisa. So I did a quick calculation before I started this lecture just to show you the enormity of what Lisa's done. Forget about the fact that she started keeping Shabbos specifically because of these lectures. That's just something that, literally changes the entire world. So anyone that has sponsored lectures before Lisa started keeping Shabbos, they're getting all the credit. You're sitting at home, everyone leaves this world, you get to the next world, and all of a sudden you're just going to see these hundreds of millions of mitzvahs on Shabbos, and you're going to say, okay, but I never even kept Shabbos. And they're going to say, oh no, you sponsored a lecture from Eliakim, and Lisa started keeping Shabbos. These are all on your account. A, it's going to make you feel happy, and B, it's going to make you feel ashamed that you're not keeping Shabbos, yet someone is because of your sponsorship. So I did a quick calculation. My average lecture is about 1 hour and 30 minutes. So that's, according to the Chafetz Chaim, and that's a bare minimum calculation, 90,000 mitzvahs for an hour and a half lecture. The Chafetz Chaim says 60,000 mitzvahs per hour. He calculates this by, you could do 200 words in a minute. The average word has 5 letters. This comes out to 60,000 mitzvahs per hour. So I did a calculation. If just Lisa watched the lecture, I gave the lecture, and then I rewatch all my lectures, so that's 3. Let's just say no one else in these 40 lectures watch. And I know that there's literally tens of thousands that watch because I see the numbers on Facebook. But let's just say it's just the 3 of us. Her watching, me doing, and me then watching. Okay? 10,800,000 mitzvahs. That's the calculation. I did it right before this lecture just to show people. So without anyone else watching in the last, 5 months since Lisa started sponsoring, 10,800,000 mitzvahs. Well, right before this lecture, I, drank a glass of water and I made a bracha, right? That's one mitzvah. So 10,800,000 mitzvahs. Imagine how much water I'd have to drink to just get the sponsorship. Hashem gives you money. Part of that money is not yours. I will say this over and over again. If you get nothing else from my lectures, at least get this. 10% minimum, 20% maximum. Can't give more than 20%. 10% minimum, 20% maximum is Hashem's money that he gives you. You have to shear it off, just like you shear a sheep, right? The analogy is 2 sheep are going across the river. They get flooded. The one that's, has all of his, wool on it gets waterlogged and drowns. The one that's been sheared, the one that's, the person that's giving the tzedakah tatzil mavis. Tzedakah saves from death. You have to give this money anyway. So find the best bang for the buck. It's like a stock. Hashem gives you the opportunity. Don't waste it. I mean, if you have the opportunity to buy Bitcoin now at a penny, you would sell everything you own to buy this. You wouldn't go buy, a stock that's just, floundering, going up a penny every day. You're not buying penny stocks with this. At least, if nothing else, if, whatever level you're on, if nothing else from these lectures, you should just understand the power of your tzedakah money. Money is given by Hashem. Oh, I work so hard for my money. No, you don't. There's people that don't work at all and they get tons of money. There's people that stumble and bumble and they just find $1 million on the street or they buy a lottery ticket. Work does not mean money. Your occupation does not mean money. And I'll say this over and over again. You'll tell me, Eliakim, I always love your lectures, but in this case, you're wrong because I have a $250,000 salary that's coming to me next year. Well, Hashem could give you a $258,000 disease that your insurance doesn't cover. And all of a sudden, that $250,000 is just being, blown out the window, and it costs you even another $8,000. So your net for the year is now minus $8,000. That's how it works. Your net for the year is determined on Rosh Hashanah. So since we're about 6 weeks away from Rosh Hashanah, get all the mitzvahs you can. Sponsor a lecture. Find a rabbi and sponsor their lectures. Give to a kollel in Israel, that just sits all day learning Torah. People, I'm trying to help you. Again, if nothing else, can't you see, my passion here? I don't want you to waste easy mitzvahs. If I knew that there was a treasure chest, in your attic, I would scream to the heavens to tell you, go get that treasure chest. And that's what this is. Okay. This is for her beloved friend, Lisa's beloved friend, Joyce Starkman, a family friend who married Sidney Starkman. She converted to Judaism. She loved being Jewish and loved Israel. She came to Lisa's house many times for Shabbos after the husband died of a heart attack. She says, I love Joyce very much. She was so kind and compassionate. Kind and compassionate. That's sort of a theme that we see amongst the Jewish people. So this is going to be a fun lecture. So I'll start with a little bit of a downer. Then I'm going to go with a very big upper, and then we're going to dive right into the lecture. I read this morning that Israel is now, we are vetting Muslims to figure out who's going to run Gaza after Israel destroys Hamas. If I'm a soldier, and please don't ever think that I'm anti-IDF or whatever, just because I hate the IDF leadership, and I don't think that the ultra-Orthodox need to go to the army. I love the army. In fact, I donated from my own money a dorm for the Hesder Yeshiva in Sderot that has my grandparents' name on it. And I got my family to also chip in, all of my cousins. And so to think that I don't like the army is, I mean, that's very insulting to me. I've never said one negative thing about our brave soldiers. If I'm a soldier and I know that I'm about to be sent into Gaza to defeat Hamas, put my life on the line, then to give it over to Muslims, I am literally throwing my weapon down and I'll just go straight to jail. I think it is absolutely disgusting, and I don't understand why more. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people agree with me, but it's not like the prevailing, ideology, and that bothers me. If I'm a soldier knowing that I am going to go into Gaza, defeat Hamas, finally rid the land of this disease of terrorism, only to then give it over to just a terrorist in a suit, like a three-piece, Apex custom suit like I'm wearing right now. That's abhorrent. Not to me, to Hashem. You don't fight to free the land that is biblical Israel. I mean, Gaza is part of Israel. That's one of the big problems. We don't even know that Gaza is Israel. Gaza is just a part of Israel, as Yerushalayim, as Shiloh, as Hebron. These brave soldiers, we've already lost around 1,000 soldiers in Gaza. So all of these soldiers' lives, they're in vain, because we are then going to give it to the Arab League, the EU, entities that hate us just as much as the terrorists. They just don't have guns so that they can shoot us. But they will do everything in their power to destroy us. That is the definition of insanity. It's the reason Israel has not won a war since the Six-Day War. We continue to make the same mistakes for one reason only. We do not understand the Torah. We have a very big problem in our relationship with Hashem. And Hashem uses all of this lunacy and all of these enemies as a stick. Speaking of enemies, that's the only downer I'm going to do in this entire lecture. We're going to start down. I know you guys are all thinking, you know what, that makes sense. Why would I want my son fighting in Gaza to finally defeat Hamas, then to hand it over to other Mahmeds and Ahmeds and Shmachmeds? That's stupid. Take religion out of it. That's just stupid and a lack of common sense. I'll tell you what's not stupid. I'll tell you what gives me so much joy. France was the first country a few weeks ago to say that they are going to recognize a Palestinian state. Well, I don't know if you know what's going on in France right now, but I do, because I like to be, Yonatan on the spot. I'm Johnny on the spot. France has had their largest wildfire in decades. Did you know this? I don't think so. France is burning, literally burning. 1,400 firefighters were deployed last Saturday in France's southern region to prevent the country's largest wildfire in decades from reigniting. Residents were cleared out. Sometimes Hashem just does something so blatant that you're just like, Hashem, thank you. I see it. I love you. I appreciate it. I'll give you a perfect example. And take this to heart, because this might seem like, okay, who cares? Why are you putting this in the lecture? But you'll see how important it is. So again, I'm in America right now. I've temporarily left Israel until I can safely go back. Not going to get into that. But on Shabbos, I'm sitting around with my mom, and we were talking about something, and for some reason, this movie came into my head from the 80s. And we were trying to figure out the actor from this, okay? So it turned out that the movie was My Blue Heaven, and the actor was Rick Moranis, right? Jewish actor, Rick Moranis. His wife also passed away. He's, raising his kids by himself. So I have a little bit of a kesher to him. But I couldn't think of the name. So I did my usual. I go through A through Z, and I try to think of his name, and I finally figured it out. I haven't thought about mention anything Rick Moranis in years. Motzi Shabbos, I'm scrolling on Facebook trying to find, some stuff for Sunday's episode. And there's an entire ad for Rick Moranis. And you'll say, okay, I like him. Who cares? I care. You should care. Everyone always says, if God would just show me a sign, if God would just show me that he's involved in my life, what are the odds that of all the actors in the entire world, one of whom is not even acting anymore? I mean, he's just like disappeared from the scene. And I spend like 10 minutes, my mom and I are like racking our brains trying to figure out, okay, he's in Ghostbusters, he's in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. We can see his face, the glasses, he looks like a little, Woody Allen. For them that night to see something about, Rick Moranis, the odds of this are zero. Hashem, every day there's something in your life that if you just open your eyes to it, you would see Hashem. You would see the beauty of Hashem. And with that, we're going to start this, because in every single thing that I'm about to mention, if you're smart enough, if you take the blinders off, if you understand how the world works, if you understand that what you want doesn't matter, what Hashem wants matters, you will see how mind-blowing each and every one of these examples is. And I could have brought trillions of examples. I had to pick some to get within a framework of like an hour and 20-minute lecture. Okay, I think you're really going to enjoy these. Hashem hid the original light of creation. It's called the Or Haganuz. Hashem saw that the world wasn't ready for this light. And if you watch the lecture that's on my wall right now, that Hashem created two worlds, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. The world that Hashem initially created is not the world that we see today. Hashem created the world based on strict judgment and, no mercy. It was the name Elohim, not Yud Kei Vav Kei. So where did Hashem hide this light? The light has to go somewhere. And Hashem just didn't suck the light back out. He hid the light in the Torah. That's what the Baal Shem Tov says. When you open the Torah, you're not just like, when you're sitting there on Shabbos and you're opening your Chumash, it doesn't just open. If you're attuned to it, it's like a beam of light that just goes up to Shemaim. There is so much beauty in the Torah, in every word, in every letter. I'm going to do a whole series on all the letters, because each letter itself would blow your mind. I did a few of these the other day in my lecture, 8675309. You should definitely go watch that. That famous, catchy song from the 80s, 8675309. I took all those numbers, 8675309, and told you what they mean in Judaism. It's a fascinating, mind-blowing lecture. Let's just take Aleph, okay? The Shema prayer. What do we say in the Shema prayer? We say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, like listen, Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Echad, okay? Well, Aleph is Echad. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's Echad. What does the Aleph look like? You know what the Aleph looks like, right? It's like one line like this, and then a little, thing here and a little thing here. So what really is an Aleph? An Aleph is a Vav, straight line Vav, with two little Yuds coming out of it. Okay, so what is Aleph? Aleph is basically Hashem's essence. He is one. We can't have any other God. What's the name that we know Hashem by? Yud Kei Vav Kei. What's that Gematria? The Gematria is 26, right? Yud is 10. Hey, 5. Vav, 6. Hey, 5. 10, 5, 6, 5, 26. We just said Hashem is, like his essence is the Aleph, right? Aleph is one in Judaism. You have to understand this for this lecture. Every letter in Judaism has a numerical equivalence. So Aleph is 1, Base is 2, all the way up to Yud is 10, Chaf is 20, Lamed is 30, Mem is 40, Nun is 50, so on and so forth. Just take the makeup of the Aleph, how the Aleph looks. It is one Vav and two Yuds jutting out of it. Yud, and a Vav is what? 26. Even just the first letter of the alphabet is everything. The first thing in everything needs to be Hashem. What you want comes secondary. What your kids want comes secondary. If it's not something that Hashem wants or sanctions or permits or desires, knock it out of your head. It's not relevant. A Aleph, one. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The Aleph itself is the Gematria of Hashem. You got a Yud sticking on the top, a Vav, straight Vav, going like this, and then the Yud sticking out of the... Just Google it. Google what an Aleph looks like. You'll see 2 Yuds and a Vav. 26! Okay. When's Hanukkah? Hanukkah starts on the 25th of Kislev. It's a very bizarre, most of the holidays start on the 15th of the month, 1st of the month. Hanukkah is very bizarre. 25th? What's 25? Well, what's Hanukkah? Even Adam Sandler knows. It's the festival of lights. It's Hanukkah. We light our candles for 8 nights. What's the 25th word of the Torah? Or. Again, coincidence. I mean, that's interesting, Eliakim. Yeah, they're all interesting. One interesting thing is interesting. 2 interesting things, okay, maybe a little bit of a pattern. 3 interesting, okay, now I need to start thinking. 4, okay, you got me, interested now, Eliakim. 5, okay, there might be something to this. How about trillions? Trillions of these. I just found some really interesting examples that I don't think people know. This one people know. Most people know that the 25th word of the Torah is Or, Hanukkah, alluding to the 25th day of Kislev. Okay. The Torah tells us about the first couple, Adam and Chava. They are the parents of all of us. The word for father in Hebrew is Av. Aleph, Bes, the first 2 letters of the alphabet. Okay? What's the Gematria of that? 3. Aleph is 1, Bes is 2. How do you become a father in Judaism? You have a child, 1. You have a wife, 2. You, 3. So, Av. I became a father because I have a wife. There's no giving birth out of wedlock in Judaism. I mean, if you do it, you'll be punished for it. But giving birth in Judaism is in the context of marriage. Not outside the context of marriage. So to be an Av, to be a father, Av is 3, right? Gematria 3. Av, Aleph, 1, Bes, 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. So to be an Av, you need what? You need 3 components. You need the child, you need the wife, and you need yourself. That's 3. Fascinating. How about the word for mother? Aim, right? What do we say? Kibud Ava Aim. Honoring your father and your mother. Ima. So Aim is mother. Av is father. What's the Gematria of Aim? Aleph is 1. Mem, 40. 41. Together, a father and a mother produce a child, which is called a Yeled, right? A child. Yeled is Yud, 10, Lamed, 30, Daled, 4. 10 plus 30 plus 4 is 44. Aim is 41. Av is 3. Okay, you're thinking, okay, I have my GED. I can probably figure this out. Av is 3. Mother, Aim, 41. 3 plus 41 is 44. What's Yeled? 44. Every word in Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, not modern Hebrew, because a lot of those words are just, made up. Like, for instance, elevator. Elevator in modern Hebrew is ma'alit. There's no ancient word for elevator because they didn't have elevators. So ma'alit means going up, aliyah. So, I mean, there's like seichel in the word, but it's not an ancient word. Find it odd that you put a av together and a mother together, and it's the same gematria as Yeled. 3 plus 41 equals Yeled, which is 44. And then, what do you put in? You put it in Aleph, because Aleph represents Hashem. Why? Because you have a Yud on top, and then a Vav, and then the other Yud. So you have the 44 for Yeled. You add Hashem, and what do you have? Adam. Adam is Mem, Aleph, Daled, Mem, 45. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. First parents were Adam and Chava. their story starts off the whole Tanakh. Rav Ginsburg points out that the entire narrative of the Tanakh spans a total of 64 generations, 64 doros. And incredibly, the sum of Adam and Chava is 64. Adam, I said, was 45. Chava is 19. Of those 64 generations, Hashem gave the Torah to the 26th generation. Again, 26 is we did a whole thing on 8675309. 7 is such an amazing number, probably the most important number in Judaism. Maybe 26 is even more, because 26 is the name of Hashem. The Yud, the Hey, the Vav, the Hey. From Abraham until David, right? From Abraham Avinu until David HaMelech, there were 14 generations. Abraham was basically the father of the Jewish people. Of course, they weren't Jews yet until we got the Torah. Until David HaMelech, who basically unified Israel, established Jerusalem as the capital, there were 14 generations. What's the Gematria of David? David is Daled, Vav, Daled. Daled is 4, Vav is 6, that's 10. Another Daled is 4, that's 14. This one's mind-blowing. I think I might have mentioned this once in a lecture, but this one is absolutely fascinating. The Jewish calendar is based on the moon, right? We know that we go by the lunar calendar. We intercalate the years 7 times every 19 years. We add an extra month of Adar. Why? So that Pesach always falls out in the spring. So there's a Jewish leap year every 7 years, 7 years and every 19 years. So a little more than 1/3 of the years have an extra month of Adar. But we go by the lunar calendar. The Muslims only go by the lunar calendar. That's why Ramadan can fall out, any time during the year. The Christians, the Western world, only goes by the solar calendar. Again, we're always stuck in the middle, right? I've mentioned this many times. The Muslims do their Shabbos on Friday. The Christians do their Shabbos on Sunday. We have the actual Shabbos, which is stuck in between. The Muslims only care about the next world. You ask any Gazan who's living in total squalor right now, if you could do October 7th over again, would you do it? The answer is no. They say we don't care how we live. All they care about is killing Jews, thinking that it's a mitzvah for them to get to the next world. The rest of them, they only have this world. They only care about the, Esav. Esav only cared about this world. Okay? So we go by the moon. The moon grows from basically nothing, reaches its peak, day 15, and then goes back down. From Abraham, the start basically of the Jewish people, until Shlomo Melech, when the Beis HaMikdash was built, exactly 15 generations. Okay? Shlomo Melech was the full moon. Okay? When the temple was built, when the first temple was built, that was the pinnacle of Jewish history. That was the golden age of Jewish history. And everything has gone downhill since that. It will continue to go downhill until Mashiach comes. 15 generations from Abraham to Shlomo Melech, just like the lunar month. The moon waxes. Well, the waxiest, the most buff, amazing car wax, Shlomo Melech, generation 15. And then boom, 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 all the way down 15 generations until the temple was destroyed. Find that interesting? We're likened to the moon in so many different respects. You could do a whole lecture on that. From Abraham, the founder of the Jewish people, up to Shlomo Melech, just like the moon, goes up and up and up. 15 generations exactly. Right? We just said David was 14, Shlomo was his son, so 15. And again, don't ever take my word for anything. Get out your, textbooks, Google, get online, Google it, Bing it, whatever you're comfortable with. Prove it wrong, but you'll see. It's fascinating stuff. The first mitzvah we were given as a Jewish people was the blessing over the moon. The moon is so intrinsic in the Jewish people. You find it odd that in Jewish history, we basically 15 generations building up till the temple was built, the pinnacle of creation, Jewish history, the temple, Hashem manifesting himself in the temple, exactly 15 generations, and then boom, 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 all the way back down, crashing and burning until the temple was destroyed with the defeat of King Tzidkiyahu. Zedekiah. And what's, the beautiful ending to that? We know, the moon goes back down. We see it getting lower and lower and lower and lower, and it disappears. But we know it's coming back. That's why we're likened to the moon. No matter how dark it gets, no matter how, these things that are happening in the world, France just pull all of El Al's visas, so you can't even fly El Al to France anymore, but you should be there in the first place. We know the ending. We don't know how we get there, but we know the ending of the Jewish story is that our temple is rebuilt, the ones that merit it live forever, and Hashem is in our midst, and we can feel it. It's going to be, a whole new world. Okay. Speaking of the moon, this is this lecture is not just numbers. It's just fun things that you might not have ever thought of or learned or anything. Again, the descendants of Esau, only use the solar calendar. That's the Christian world, the Western world today. Their months are completely divorced from the lunar cycle. The rabbis of the Midrash say that it's entirely natural that the bigger, older brother took the larger of the heavenly orbs. Right? We know that the sun and the moon were created equal. Yaakov and Esau could have been equal, but they weren't. Esau is the older brother. He took the sun. What's interesting about the sun does not shine at night. It sets completely at night. What's interesting about the moon can also be seen during the day. So Esau only sees its success in this world, which is compared to the day, but has nothing in the world to come. Yaakov, the Jewish people, by contrast, have a portion in this world and a portion of the world to come. The moon is visible at night. It's also visible during the day. Okay. Let's get to Abraham. Abraham was very unique in that he was the first person to introduce the concept of the positive mitzvah of serving Hashem, serving God. Fittingly, the Torah has a total of 248 positive commandments. That's the numerical value of Abraham. Aleph, Beis, Resh, He, Mem. 248. These 248 correspond to the 248 major bones and organs of the body. The Torah also has 365 negative mitzvahs, the lo ta'ases, the don't do's. Don't eat shrimp. Don't have relations with a man if you're a man. This corresponds to the major nerves and sinews, as well as the 365 days of the year. When it comes to the positive mitzvahs that bind us to Hashem, the positive mitzvahs are meant to bind us to God, the things that we do. Wave the lulav and the etrog, do bris milah, do the korban pesach. The things that we're not supposed to do are supposed to separate us from evil. Well, who is the quintessential evil? Ha-Satan, right? The Satan. What's the Gematria of the Satan? 364. Where's that extra one? There's only one day of the year that not only does the Satan not have any power over us, it's actually our biggest advocate. What do we do on Yom Kippur? We send one of the goats into the desert to Azazel, and we throw it off that rocky cliff, and it dies. What is this? It's a bribe to the Satan. The Satan on Yom Kippur actually becomes our biggest defendant, and it's silence. Not just silence, it actually speaks up for us once it gets this bribe. Did a whole lecture on that Hashem created the world with a very powerful sort of opposing force called the Satan, and even Hashem himself bribes the Satan, which is why when the Torah was given, the Satan didn't know about it. There's a famous Gemara that the Satan comes to Hashem and says, "Where's the Torah?" The Satan, Ha-Satan, the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, Esav's archangel, has a Gematria of 364, meaning one day of the year, it does not have power to incite against the Jewish people. Okay. Moshe brought down the Torah with all of its 613 mitzvahs, 248 positive, 365 negative. The value of Moshe Rabbeinu is 613. Moshe Rabbeinu. We don't just call him Moshe. Call him Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe, our teacher. The Baal Torah points out that when Hashem saw the light at the start of creation, he said that the light of the Torah, he saw the light of the Torah and the 613 mitzvahs, which is why the value of the light, es ha'or, is also 613. He saw the Torah. The reason that the world was created was for the Torah. Okay. In addition to the 613 mitzvahs and the Torah for the Jews, there's also 7 Noahide laws. There's 7 mitzvahs that the Gentiles are obligated on. Altogether, the Torah contains 620 total mitzvahs, 613 for the Jews and 7 for the Gentiles. The Baal Torah reveals that in Shemos 20:13, the entire text of the 10 Commandments contains 620 letters. For in these 10 proclamations made at Har Sinai that included all the mitzvahs of the Torah, 620 total letters. There's 620 total mitzvahs. 613 for the Jewish people, 7 just for Hashem. Also, the value of God's crown, keser, is 620. Chuf, saf, resh, 620. The Torah is likened to Hashem's crown. When we accepted the Torah, what does it say? The Malachim came down and put 2 crowns on the heads of every Jew, making us eternal until we, bungled it with the sin of the golden calf. Why do we get a crown? It's the crown of Torah. Why do we get 2? Because we said Shamor and Zachor. Of course we'll accept the Torah, and then we'll find out what's in it. If you say that it's good, Hashem, that's good enough for us. Okay. The value of Torah itself, Torah, Saf, Vav, Resh, He, is 611. The sages explained that at Mount Sinai, we heard the first 2 commandments specifically from Hashem, right? As it says in Malchus 23b, first 2 commandments we heard from Hashem. Our souls left after each one. The angels had to come and push us back. And then we said to Moshe, enough. We can't take the enormity of this. It's too frightening. So the other 8 commandments we heard through Moshe. Torah is 611. That's the 611 mitzvahs we heard through Moshe Rabbeinu. And the other 2 we heard from Hashem. 611 plus 2 is 613. God relayed the first 2 commandments. The remaining 611 were taught by Moshe Rabbeinu. 2 plus 611 equals 613. Okay, this one's very cool. Never even heard this one before. The Torah is 611. It's a document which was forged through a covenant, which is a bris, right? Bris is Gematrias 612. So we have 611 Torah. Bris is 612, allowing us to fulfill the 613 mitzvahs to ultimately get to the point of cherus, freedom, which is 614. So we have 611, 612, 613, 14, boom, 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 all in a row. There's the Torah. 611 was the document which we forged through a bris with Hashem. We have a covenant with Hashem. That's 612, allowing us to fulfill all 613 precepts, right? 2 were spoken by Hashem. 611, so that's 611, the bris, the 2 that were spoken by Hashem, bris, Gematrias 612, allowing us to get to 613, the 613 mitzvahs, in order to get to cherus, freedom, liberty, which is 614. Fascinating. The most egregious sin that it says in Vayikra 25:36 is charging interest to your fellow Jew. We're not allowed to charge interest to Jews. What's interest in Hebrew? Ribis. Not like ribbit, like a frog. Ribis. Resh, Bes, Yud, Saf. Also 612. Because the Baal Torah says that transgressing ribis, charging interest, is like transgressing all the other 612 mitzvahs. Fascinating. Okay. Another great one. The Vilna, they're all great, but some of these I never knew. I tried to pick a lot that I've never heard before because, one of the reasons I became religious is something I'm going to mention at the end, but after learning with my rabbi, and I started just, doing the research myself on like the fun stuff. Because when I got out of jail, I'm sitting with my rabbi, and I asked him two questions. First question is, Rabbi, why do you live like this? Why are you dressed in a suit? You got the kippah on. You live a seemingly restrictive lifestyle, in my opinion. Why do you live like this? He said, only God could have given the Jewish people the Torah. When you can prove that to yourself, you're going to live exactly like I do. Okay, so I started trying to prove it. I mean, obviously, there's got to be some like amazing stuff in the Torah. Codes, just obviously the Gematria. Because if God created the Torah and the goal is that everyone is focusing on the Torah, don't you think that this God just put like amazing stuff in here to find for the people that want to find it? I mean, it's not a history book. It's not, it's not an archaeological book, even though in Israel, when they, dig for different things, they specifically go to the Torah, to the Tanakh. These things are just really, really fascinating. So the Vilna Gaon taught a famous set of Gematrias in the form of numerology called Mispar Katan, where the number is reduced to a single digit through successive summation. For instance, Yayin. Yayin is wine. So Yayin's Gematria is 70, which can be reduced to 7, right? Because 7 plus 0, 70, is 7. So Yayin is 70, Yud Yud Nun is 70, but in Mispar Katan, it's 7. Chala, Ches Lamed Hey, is 43. Again, 43. 4 plus 3 equals 7. On Shabbos, we start by lighting candles. What's candles? Ner. Ner is Nun Resh 250. 250. 2 plus 5 plus 0. Again, 7. Then we recite Kiddush on wine, like I said before, 7. Followed by Hamotzi, 7. Fish. We always have fish on Shabbos. Fish is Dug. Dug is Daled Gimel, 4 and 3. Again, a value of 7. Followed by meat. Meat is Basar. Bes Shin Resh, which is 502. Again, 502. 5 plus 0 plus 2 is 7, which also reduces to 7. Every single thing that we know of that makes Shabbos so holy, from wine to challah, to fish, to lights, to the meat, all have a mispar katan of 7. By taking the number and then adding up all the digits of that number, and they will always add to 7 in this. It's another fun one on Shabbos. On Shabbos, there's 39 things that we can't do. They're called malachas. There's 39 malachas that we can't do. Lighting fire, reaping, all these different things. Why specifically 39? Well, when Adam and Chava sinned, the world was then cursed. The snake got 10 curses, like the animal kingdom, specifically the snake got 10 curses. Chava got 10 curses. Adam got 10 curses. And the ground itself got 9 curses. That's 39. Shabbos is basically going back to before the sin. Shabbos is perfection. I did just an unbelievable episode the other day about the two worlds that Hashem created. I told people, you can't watch this episode once because it's like top shelf, understanding. You need to watch it at least 3 times to be able to understand this lecture. When we observe Shabbos, we are in essence going back to the world that was originally created. We're going back to the world pre-chet of Adam and Chava and the snake. So Shabbos is in essence our true life, our true existence. We were not put in this world to work. Work was a consequence of this sin. We were not put in this world to, experience pains in childbirth. That was, a consequence of the sin. There's many consequences that came out by the sin. Why? Because once Hashem had to introduce his mercy into the world, as the world became more merciful, which was not the intention of Hashem, our struggles became, as more mercy came into the world, our struggles become more and more. So what's the purpose of Shabbos? To rip us out of this world, the hustle and bustle of this world, to get us back to a time that's just us and Hashem and Torah and holiness, and totally eliminating the physical world, which is how the world was intended. So you take the 39 malachas that we're not allowed to do, you multiply that by chai, which is 18, and you get 702, which is the Gematria of course, Shabbos. Who's the archenemy of the Jewish people, and even more specifically, God himself? Because what does it say? The throne of Hashem will never be complete until Amalek is destroyed from this world. The Gematria of Amalek is 240. And if you've watched my lectures, you'll know this one. It's also the Gematria of Suffolk. Suffolk means doubt. Suffolk is Samech Pei Kuf, so 240. And Amalek is Ayin Mem Lamed Kuf, also 240. When did Amalek come to the scene? When did he pop into our, vernacular? We had just complained about leaving Egypt. We don't have water, food. We're just complaining. We're doing what Jews do best. You have a whole schmear of corned beef. Where's the pastrami? What do we have the gall to say? I mean, it's right in Shemos. We have the gall to say, after the 10 plagues, crossing the Yam Suf, all the miracles, man falling from the heaven, we have the gall to say, is Hashem in our midst or not? If you ask someone, are we going to the beach or not? Do you know 100% you're going to the beach? No, you have a doubt. You have a suffix. Amalek came, and it doesn't say he came. The lashon that it uses, he was basically unleashed on us. Just like Hamas, just like Hezbollah, just like Iran, just like the Nazis, just like the Persians, just like the Babylonians, just like the Greeks. Hashem decides, okay, the Jewish people need discipline. I will then use this specific mode. And when that discipline, gets to the top of the cup, he will then cut them off. Doubt of Hashem brings Amalek. Amalek's the most treacherous. Amalek is a nation. You ever seen like Hamas training videos? You see them, they're relentless. They train like 24 hours a day to do one thing, kill Jews. And the ones that support them, we're about to give them just control over Gaza, according to every report, and even Netanyahu's own words. Doubt. When the Jewish people have doubt, when we have a suffix, it is the most treacherous of any character trait that we can have. What did my rabbi say to me? When you can prove to yourself that Hashem gave the Torah, he said, I know that Hashem gave the Jewish people the Torah. When you can prove this to yourself, you'll do the same thing as me. Knowing is 100% knowing. I know that if I, dump this cup out, water is going to come pouring on to the table. I know if I press the stop button on this, the lecture is going to stop. Knowing is 100% knowing. Hashem never once said to believe in him. He said, so that you shall know that I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Doubt, 240. What else creates doubt? What's the currency of the world? The dollar. What's dollar? Daled, Vav, Lamed, Resh. Dollar. Gematria, 240. Did a whole thing the other day. One of the famous Hasidic rabbis say, it's so understandable to me how destitute people follow the Torah. It's shocking to me how how wealthy people follow the Torah. Why? Because what does money create? It creates doubt. And the example I used earlier, I tell you that the money that you're going to earn for the next year is determined by Hashem and Rosh Hashanah, and then you wave a little $250,000 contract in my face. But again, if Hashem wants you to lose $100,000 next year, that $250 means nothing. Again, he'll give you a $350,000 illness. He'll make you responsible for a car accident that you don't have, coverage for. That's just how the world works. When you have money, when your status is high, and you keep thinking your status is increasing, your finances are increasing, and you start becoming less and less and less reliant on Hashem, your doubt is getting higher. Ergo, Amalek has more power over you. What's a famous Gematria? What's the Gematria for wine? We said it before. Yayin, yayin, nun, 70. What's the Gematria of secret? What's the word for secret? Sod. Samech, vav, dalet. 60. Vav is 6, dalet is 4. Wine and secret have the same exact Gematria. Why? What are the children of what did Rav Chia say to Rebbe in the Gemara? Wine comes in, secrets come out. Think of how many stupid things you've said in your life, when you've been under the influence. Okay, this one. These are all so much fun, but this one, again, I tried to pick ones that, some that I've heard before because they're popular for a reason, Some of these are just mind-blowing. So in Parshas Re'eh, we're commanded to give tzedakah, charity, to the poor. The Ace Dos points out that the numerical value of the word for a wealthy person is an ashir, right? Ashir is ayin shin yud resh. So ayin shin yud resh is 580, okay? The word for a wealthy person, rich person, is ashir. The word for a poor person is ani, okay? Ani is ayin nun yud, which is Gematria of 130. So we have 580 and we have 130. What's the difference in that? 450. So the difference between wealthy and poor is 450. What's the Hebrew word for give? Forgiving. Tzedakah. What do? We give tzedakah. We don't throw tzedakah. We don't drop tzedakah. We give tzedakah. What's the Hebrew word? Forgive. 10. 450. Tough? None. 10. 450. If we want to erase the differences between the ashir and the oni, the ani, you give. You give. Any one of these, you should be like, okay, Eliakim, that's actually really cool. You put all these together, and again, I got to keep my shirim. I could talk for 50 hours. I could find 2,000 examples here. The difference between a wealthy person and a poor person is what? The giving. Not like communist giving, like we're all going to get to the same level, but how do you uplift a poor person? You give. Suf none. 450. The difference between 580 and 130 is 450. Coincidentally, the number of giving. Okay. And what's the best part of the giving? Hashem's not telling you to give your own money. He's telling you, I'm the one that gave you the money. You have to shear off minimum 10%, maximum 20%. You got to give. There's millions of places you can give. You could give to poor people. You could give to orphans and widows. You can give to, cancer organizations. You can give to Torah. They're all going to give you a reward if you're giving to good charity, but one is head and shoulders above the rest. Okay, this one's... The Talmud in Chagiga 9b teaches that there's no comparison to somebody that studies a section of the Torah 100 times as one that studies it 101 times. It's a very strange Gemara. Okay, studying it one time or studying it 2 times, What's 100 and 101? The Kli Yakar in his commentary to Devarim 4:9 teaches that the idea of reviewing what we learn 101 times is alluded to in this following Gematria. The Hebrew word for forgetting is shachach. In Hebrew you say shachachti. Oh, I forgot. Shachach is the numerical value of 328. Shin, chuf, ches is 328. Shin is 300, chuf is 20, ches is 8. 328. The Hebrew word for remembering, zachar, right? Zecher l'tzias Mitzrayim, remembering. Zachar is Zion, Chuf, Resh, 7, 20, and 200. 227. So what's the difference between forgetting and remembering? What's the difference between 328 and 227? Forgetting and remembering is what? 101. I love this one because my son's Gematria of his first name is 101. Also, the Gematria of the angel Michael is 101. The guardian angel of the Jewish people is also 101. Again, the difference between rich and poor is the exact Gematria of giving. The difference between remembering and forgetting is the famous, if you don't learn something, and what's like a deeper allusion to this? You learn something 100 times. Honestly, that 101 times makes a difference. Yes. Why? Because what's the difference between 100 and 101? The Aleph. What's the Aleph? Hashem. If you learned it 100 times, but you didn't learn it with the Aleph, you didn't learn it. I'm learning this so that, that I'll get a better shidduch. That girl will be impressed that on our first date, I know this section, Pat. Or I'm learning this just to get to the yeshiva so that I can, get a better whatever. No. If you're learning it for the right reason, if you're learning it specifically because God has no bigger joy than you learning the Torah, that's the difference. That's the chasm between 100 and 101. The Aleph, that's the difference. You're missing the Aleph. You're missing the Hashem. Okay. Oh, this is great. What's the Hebrew word for firstborn? The Bechor. Okay? What's special about a Bechor? What's special about the firstborn boy in a family? The directive to give the firstborn a double portion. The firstborn gets a double portion, meaning what? Let's say you have 4 children, and you're now leaving an inheritance. You're leaving not 4 portions, you leave 5 portions. Why? Because the Bechor gets 2, and then the other 3 kids get 1, 1, and 1. The Bechor can, of course, say, no, okay, you can leave it to me and I'll split it with the family. But that is the mitzvah. There's a mitzvah deraisa to leave a double portion to the firstborn son. Again, so you have 4 kids. You're thinking 4 portions? No, it has to be 5 portions. The oldest one gets portions 1 and 2, and then, the next 3 kids get 3, 4, and 5. There's 5 total portions. Again, what the Bechor wants to do with that is that's not relevant here. But the Bechor gets a double. Bechor is doubled. His portion is doubled. What's fascinating about the word Bechor? The word Bechor is the letters Bes, Bet, Chaf, and Resh. Bes has a numerical value of 2. It is double the letter that precedes it, which is Aleph, that has 1. Chaf is Gematria 20. It is double the letter that precedes it, Yud, which is 10. Resh is Gematria 200. It is double the letter that precedes it, which is Kuf. Again, Bechor has a Gematria of 222. Each letter is double the letter that precedes it. Bes comes after Aleph, Chuf comes after Yud, Resh comes after Kuf. The allusion is in the name itself, in the letters. There's billions of these in the Torah. How fascinating is this? There's a Bechor, there's a firstborn son. He gets a double portion. The letters of the thing itself are doubled what comes before it. Gosh. All right, this one, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this one. This one's just really amazing. Okay. Parshas Vayeshev. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz migorei aviv be'eretz Canaan. Yaakov settled in Hebron, the region where his father had lived, which is in Canaan. Vayeshev is like a different kind of settling, because in Hebrew, In English, you have synonyms. I mean, it really doesn't matter which, they don't mean anything. In Hebrew, you could have 10 words that mean the same exact thing. Each 10 is used only in its path. So Vayeshev is not just settling. It's settling with a long-term desire for peace. Okay? Yaakov generalizes this note. He wanted to settle in tranquility, in peace. He just left Lavan. He just encountered his brother Esav again that wanted to kill him. He's gone through a lot. He has his kids. He comes to Eretz Canaan. He just lost his wife Rachel. He just wants to live in a little van down by the river with his kids. Did that happen? No. Did not happen, clearly. We'll come after that. Dinah gets raped. Yosef goes down to Mitzrayim. Clearly. So what's this? Famous Midrash. Basically, Hashem is saying to Yaakov, is it not enough that the righteous will have tranquility? They'll be able to vayeshev in the world to come. They also seek it in this world as well. In Bereshis Perek Lamed Zion, so 37, Yaakov wanted to settle down and not have any more worries. Before long, he was presented with a new challenge, the worry of Yosef, right? Also Dinah. This premise leaves us wondering, what is wrong if a tzaddik also has menucha in this world? Why should the Rishoyim have all the shalva, all the peace in this world, and not tzaddikim? The question goes even deeper. If the whole purpose of this world is a function to get to the next world, and in order to do mitzvahs, one needs a certain amount of peace, menucha, why can't tzaddikim have both worlds? Why do they have to struggle in this world? We see that some tzaddikim also have this world. The Rambam says there's a rule about Bnei Yisrael. Whatever happens to our fathers is a siman to the children, right? Masa avos siman abanim. The journeys of the fathers have the same, they're in our DNA. We have to analyze all that occurred with our avos and apply it to our day. What's one of the problems of having tranquility is you sort of start to float away. It's just like having money. You start to float away from Hashem. Things are so good now. Nothing could knock me off my purse. Just got a perfect job. I signed a 10-year contract. My, wife's pregnant. My sister just is about to get married. Everything's perfect now. People tend to start going away from God. So Hashem, you have to understand, Hashem is like a doctor. Sometimes you have to, draw blood from a certain limb in order for it to heal. Hashem doesn't want nonstop tranquility in this world. And even the Gemara goes one step further. They actually debate what's considered the slightest bit of suffering. Why? Because it says if you haven't had any suffering in 30 days, it's a sign that you've lost your Olam Haba. It's a sign that Hashem is just okay, I'm going to just pay him off in this world, and then there's no more. So they go to the littlest possible thing. You want to take out 3 coins from your pocket and you take out 2. That's considered a suffering. So they tried to get to the lowest common denominator of suffering so that they could feel good that, okay, there's been some suffering in their life. They haven't, wasted their Olam Haba. So what is unique about Vayeshev? It's the name of the Torah portion. It means dwelling in tranquility. Vayeshev. The second letters of the names of Yosef, Dinah, Esav, and Lavan are Vayeshev. Meaning, no, you're not having Vayeshev in this world, Yaakov. The only time Yaakov had Vayeshev is when he finally got down to Egypt, and the last 17 years of his life he spent in tranquility. But until then, he did not have Vayeshev. He had his beloved son, his favorite son, being sold down to Egypt thinking that he was dead. He had Dinah, his only daughter, being raped. He had Esav, a brother that wanted to kill him, chased him till the end of the earth. And Lavan has to go live with this wicked, disgusting monster for 20 years. The second letters of the names of Yosef, Dinah, Esav, and Lavan are Vayeshev, to show in this world, the Jewish people, we never have true Vayeshev. Why? Because our peace and tranquility, God willing, will come to those that merit it at the end of times. Okay, this is a great one. Bereshis 48:5. Yaakov tells Yosef that his two sons are now going to be counted like the tribes, right? In essence, we have 13 tribes. Joseph's, he became the firstborn. His portion was split. And Levi, my Shevet Levi does not have any chelik in the land. We have 48 cities that we can live in, but we don't have a portion in the land. If you go and you take, you Google map of ancient Israel, you'll never see a portion with Levi in it because we don't have a portion. You'll see Reuven, Shimon, Yehudi, Issachar, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Binyamin. Those are the 12 that have cheliks in the land. Yosef is told by his father that his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, are going to be like Reuven and Shimon. The Gematria of Ephraim and Manasseh is equal to the Gematria of Reuven and Shimon, to sort of emphasize and prove. It's Gematria that's off by one, but in Gematria, if it's off by one, it's the same, because of odd numbers. The Gematria of Ephraim and Manasseh is the same Gematria as Reuven and Shimon, to sort of enhance the gift that he bestowed upon Yosef, that he is getting the double portion because he is now the Bechor. He was supposed to be the Bechor. Yaakov was supposed to marry Rachel first. Okay. Okay, we know that when we're supposed to defeat the wicked, it's called blunting their teeth. We're supposed to blunt their teeth. It's a famous, just ikar of Judaism. The analogy uses is blunting the teeth. So in the Haggadah, we read at the Seder the section of the four sons. We have the wise son, the wicked son, the simple son, and the son who doesn't know what to ask. In response to the wicked son at the Seder, he sits there and he mocks everything. He mocks everything we're doing. We're instructed to blunt his teeth. Okay? Rabbi Elazar Rokeach of Worms, Germany, explained this strange response as follows. Many wicked children really aren't wicked. Underneath the surface, beneath the layers of rudeness and rebellion, there lies an innocent soul. Even the most delinquent children have goodness at their core. It may be buried under layers of hurt and pain or tragedy or, lack of self-worth, but the soul remains pure. All the lashing out and the mocking that this wicked son does, we talk about in the Haggadah. I was always the one that read the wicked son growing up. It's like a badge of honor for me for some stupid reason. Okay, tshuva. See? I'm proof of this. I wasn't the wicked son. I just, I had stuff covering that beautiful, pure soul that we're all blessed with. It's a soul that's gone astray. Our job as parents is to blunt, to defang the teeth, to see beyond the angry and rebellious exterior that reveals a pure inner neshama. Okay? So this is great. A wicked person in Hebrew is called a rasha. Rasha has a gematria of 570. Okay? Resh, Shin, Ayin, 570. Resh is 200. Shin is 300. That's 500. And Ayin is 70. So 570. So a wicked person is 570. The word for a pure person, a righteous person, a tzaddik, right? Tzaddik is tzadi, dalid, yud, kuf. So that's 204. So we have a rasha is 570. A wicked person is 204. What's the difference? What's 570 minus 204? 366. What's the difference between rasha and tzaddik? 366, which is what? The gematria of shinav, his teeth. What are we supposed to do? It's right in the Haggadah. We're supposed to blunt his teeth. So the gematria of his teeth, the only thing that separates the rasha from the tzaddik is the blunting of the teeth. Shinav, Shin, Nud, Nun, Yud, Vav, 366. Defang the rasha, blunt the teeth of the rasha, tap into that pure soul that is the rasha, and you will find his inner tzaddik. Again, 570 is rasha, 204 is tzaddik. It's a difference of what? His teeth. So many different analogies for this and the blunting the teeth of the wicked. What's a great example of this? Who's the archetype of wickedness? Esav, right? Esav is the antithesis of Yaakov. But Esav has double the Gematria of Yaakov. The Gematria of Esav is 376. The numerical value of Yaakov is 182. So you're thinking, okay, Elliot, 182 times 2 is 364. But, did a whole lecture on this. The amazing woman that sponsored the Eliyahu Navi lecture. 5 times in the Torah, Yaakov got an extra letter. He got a vav in 5 specific places. From who? From Eliyahu Hanavi. As a what? As a handshake agreement, right? 5. Meaning Eliyahu gave up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yaakov gained 5 vavs, right? 5 and 5. It's like they were shaking hands. It was Eliyahu promising to Yaakov that I will come at the end of times, just like it says in the second to last pasuk of Malachi, that Hashem's going to send Eliyahu Navi before the great and awesome day of the Lord, terrifying day of the Lord, to return the hearts of the fathers to the sons and the sons to the fathers, lest he smite the land with destruction. So Yaakov's name 5 times is spelled with an extra vav. So it's not 182, it's 188. 188 times 2 is 376. Esav has double the Gematria of Yaakov. Why? Because Esav had twice the potential. Why did Yitzchak love Esav so much? Because he saw in him potential. What was supposed to be the perfect relationship? What does it say? Esav was a man of the fields. He was a doer. He was a go-getter. He was the one that could go out and raise money for the yeshivas. He was the one that was a captain of the industry that does what? What was Yaakov? He was a man of the tents. But Esav failed. Esav failed to reach his potential. Again, when you leave this world, no one is going to ask you, why weren't you the Chafetz Chaim? They're going to ask you, why weren't you a Malka Rus? Why weren't you a Lisa? Why weren't you a Chil Chaya? Why weren't you a Lou? Esav wasn't an Esav. Esav had double the potential of Yaakov. He could have been so great. This was supposed to be the most perfect symbiotic relationship. But what happened? Esav failed. So who ended up fulfilling this? The next generation. Zvulun and Yisachar. Who was Zvulun? 2 sons of Yaakov, right? The 2 sons of Leah. The 5th and 6th children of Leah. But Yisachar was born first. Yet the Torah lists Zvulun first. Why? Zvulun had his chelik in like the northwest corner of Israel. Akko, Haifa, on the sea. What did he do? He was an expert trader. He had the chilazon, that they made the dye for the techelis. He was an expert trader. He worked, but he didn't just work for nothing. He worked so that he could support his brother Yisachar. What's Yisachar likened to? A donkey. Why? Because he sort of had the burden of Torah for all the Shvatim. Zvulun got the most out of his life, out of his strengths. Not everyone can sit there and learn Torah all day. Some people are very loquacious. Some people can walk into a room and just, boom, they'll walk out of that room with $15 million raised for any cause they want. Is this person supposed to be sitting there all day learning Torah? No. Hashem specifically says this in the Talmud. There's 3 things that Hashem hates. People that spend all day learning Torah when they shouldn't. People that don't spend all day learning Torah when they should. Some people were given other gifts. Esav was given another gift as a doer. He has double the potential of Yaakov, double the Gematria. But he failed. The realization of what his purpose was only realized 1 generation later when Zvulun realized, I'm successful. I'm good at this. I'm working. This is obviously a bracha from Hashem. I will support my brother so that all they have to do is learn Torah. Esav failed his potential. when you get to the next world, they're going to ask you, why weren't you the best version of you? They're not going to compare you to the Chafetz Chaim, to Rav Kanievsky, to the Vilna Gaon, or to Rabbi Akiva. They're going to say, I gave you all these strong suits. Here were your weaknesses. You never once in your entire life tried to overcome them. What were you doing these 89 years that I gave you? And what's going to happen? I did a whole lecture on the Yetzer Hara. You're going to see what the Yetzer Hara looks like. It's going to be one strand of hair, right? One strand of hair. That's what the Sfas Emes says. The people that work their whole lives, they're to overcome their negative traits, to learn Torah, to figure out exactly what Hashem wants me to do at all times, to always know the answers based on the Torah, or who to go to get the answers. These people are going to see the Yetzer Hara as a mountain, and both are going to cry. The Asavs are going to cry. The people that never fulfilled their potential, never understood how powerful they are, they're going to cry because of that little hair. I couldn't overcome this little hair. And the righteous people are going to see that big mountain, and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I put in all the effort. I put in so much work. They're going to cry tears of joy. Go back on my wall and watch the one on the Yetzer Hara. It's mind-blowing. Okay. I saved the best for last. So I became religious because of Purim, because of the Purim proof, right? There was 10 Nazis that were hanged in Purim. In the Nuremberg trials, there were also 10 Nazis that were hung. 10 sons of Haman that were hung in the Purim story. Hermann Goering was a notorious cross-dresser. He committed suicide the night before. Haman also had a daughter that committed suicide the night before. Inside the Megillah, and this isn't even actually the one, I'm just telling you why Purim is so important to me, why I saved this next one for last. Inside the Megillah, there are four letters that are unusual size. There's a big Vav, and there's a small Saf Shin. Tav Shin Zayin. Saf Shin Zayin. Okay? So big Vav and a small Saf Shin Zayin. The big Vav is 6, right? Vav is 6. So we're talking about the 6th set of what? Tav Shin Zayin. Tav Shin Zayin is 707. Tav is 400, Saf is 400, Shin is 300, Zayin is 7. So it's the 6th set of 707s, meaning the year 5707. Well, the year 5707 was the year of the Nuremberg trial. This is the most famous of all these type of things. Esther asked she said, if it pleases the king, but she does not say Achashverosh, so we know that anywhere in the Megillah that it says king, she's asking Hashem for something. So she says, if it pleases the king, let the 10 sons of Haman hang again on the morrow. Right? We know in Judaism we never leave anybody hanging overnight. The verb that she uses for on the morrow is something in the distant future. So what's Esther asking? Let these 10 Amalekis, let these 10 monsters, these 10 anti-Semites hang again in the distant future. So 10 sons of Haman, 10 Nazis. What is the glue that tied this all together? The most vociferously anti-Jewish of all the Nazis was Julius Streicher. He had that Der Stürmer or whatever newspaper. When he was being hanged, and this is, there's witnesses there. It was written. It's in all the newspapers. My rabbi had one of the people in the congregation's father was actually there. It's very famous. Julius Streicher screams out Purim Fest, 1947 or 46. That literally made me become religious. And who else? I was interviewed on Rav Yom Tov Glazer's podcast a few months ago in his studio in Yerushalayim. I told him, as he's interviewing me, he's always asking why I became religious, told him about my high-speed car chase on cocaine. I said, but what really, fast-tracked it was this. And he you should see his face. He said, this is the exact reason I also became religious. But there's something else that's mind-blowing about Purim. That is the most famous of anything that you'll ever hear. That alone, I saw this, and I ended up telling it to some friends, family members, and they all say, yeah, it's really interesting. To me, this was 100% conclusive proof of God. So I could not ignore that, and I immediately became religious after that. Why? Because you need to, carpe diem. You seize the day. I didn't say, okay, you know what, this is really cool. Like in 5 years, maybe I'll get married, maybe I'll... No. This was Hashem just smashing me over the face, smacking me with, here I am. I gave you this is the easiest way to see Hashem in the entire history of the Jewish people. This specific thing in the Megillah. There's no way a human can make this up. And the interesting thing about it, the people that were died in the Nuremberg trials, they were supposed to be shot. It was supposed to be, hanging was, they didn't do that. At the last minute, it switched to hanging. It was supposed to just be a firing squad. Every little thing there is just Hashem saying, guys, I'm here. Just wake up. This one might be just as incredible. Okay, this is how we're going to end. Rav Michael Dov Weissmandel was a Torah sage from Hungary, known as the father of the Torah codes. He was basically like an encyclopedia. His work was done in his head without computers. Okay, this is before computers. Once in the 50s, someone visited him in Mount Kisco in New York in the month of Adar, a short time before Purim. Rav Michael Dov asked this person, did I ever tell you how many letters there are in Megillah Esther? No, I have no idea. Well, I know, he said. There are 12,196 letters in the Megillah. Okay? 12,196. Okay. He goes on. The person says, is there a significance to this number? That's incredible. But what do we do with this information? Where's the significance here? He smiles. Right? Rav Michael Dov smiles and says, bring me a Chumash. Bring me the 5 books of Moses. Bring me the Torah. This is what he says. Starting with the first instance of the letter Aleph, which is the third letter and the first word of the Torah. Right? Bereshis. The third letter is an Aleph. If you count 12,196 letters, you're going to arrive at a Samech. If you do another 12,196 letters, you get a Suf, tough. If you keep doing this over and over again, 12,196 letters, you are eventually going to spell Esther. Okay? There's 12,196 letters in the Megillah. You go to the first Aleph, because Esther's name starts with an Aleph, and you count Aleph, 12,196, you then get a Samech. Intervals of 12, 196 spells out Esther. The person was blown away. He says, but is there a connection to Mordechai too? Mordechai and Esther. So he says, I don't know yet. Try me again next year. Again, there's no computers. You can do this in 2 seconds on a computer. It's been done. The next year, I made sure to visit the rabbi again, this person says. What about Mordechai, he asked. He said, I also found the hint to Mordechai. Our sages point out that there is a hint, an actual allusion to Mordechai. You shall take the finest fragrance. It's known as Mordjor, like Mordjor, Mordechai, Mordjor. Mordjor has the same first 2 syllables as Mordechai. And its Aramaic translation, Meradachia, is the same consonants in the same order as Mordechai. So Mordachia, Mordjor. This verse is in Shmos 30:23. So, he said, go to the Mem in Mordjor that's in the Torah, count 12,196 letters. You're going to get a Daled, 12,196 letters. You're going to get a Chaf, 12,196 letters, you're going to get a Yud, Mordechai. 12,196 letters in the Megillah, From the first Aleph in the Torah, 12,196 letters, you will spell out Esther. From the Mem and Mordachia, which is literally the Aramaic Mordechai, Mordechai, same exact letters. From that Mem, 12,196 letters, you will spell out Mordechai. This story has a very happy ending. A number of years ago, this is a person telling this story that he visited Rav Michael Dov. So this is this person. He says, a number of years ago, a young Jewish woman appeared at our house. She was not observant, but had recently attended an introductory seminar about Judaism. She was a very intelligent and learned person, and her rapid-fire questions had given the rabbis a lot of difficulty. When the seminar ended, they recommended her to visit me. My wife and I invited her to come 1 week for dinner and stay over. After the meal, we entered into a discussion at her request. She asked all of her questions and added that she does not believe that the Torah is from God, stating categorically that this is a concept impossible to accept or even grasp. He then proceeds to tell this girl what Rav Michael Dov found about the 12,196 letters and how it spells out in equidistant skips Esther and Mordechai, all in the interval of 12,196. She paid close, unblinking attention. Afterwards, she asked to be excused and retired to her room. The next morning, she emerged red-eyed and exhausted. I asked her what the matter was. She said she had been up the entire night on the portable computer, which she carried everywhere and brought with her. Her field was mathematics and computer science. She had determined to devise a program to calculate the possibility of such a thing occurring naturally. It took many hours, and the inescapable conclusion she was forced to concede was that the odds were so astronomically vast that it had to be considered impossible. Many years after the above incident, after the chuppah ceremony at a wedding where I had been invited to recite a blessing, a woman I did not recognize called me out by name. "Excuse me." I said to her, "I don't know you. Who are you?" She said, "I am Mordechai and Esther. I wanted you to see that I cover my hair. I have a husband who's very religious and studies in Kollel. We have children that study at the yeshiva. I thought you would be pleased." What's the point of me doing this entire thing? It's not to say, "Oh, these are really interesting," and go back to your, Netflix. The goal is the exact goal of this woman who said, you can't prove Hashem, yet Hashem tells us to know that I'm the Lord your God. Knowing is knowing 100%. I hope that my football team wins the championship. I think that my, cousin might pass the test based on her intelligence and how much she studied. I know that 2 + 2 = 4. I know that the sun's going to come up. I know that if I drop this cup, water's going to spill everywhere. You definitely can prove Hashem. Anyone saying otherwise is saying that for a reason, so that they can continue to live the lie that there's no God in this world, that the Torah was given by a person, given randomly, there's no purpose, there's no destiny, there's no afterlife. That's why people say the stupid things like you can't prove Hashem. You should just be able to look yourself in the mirror, 190 trillion connections in the brain, 2 million things that make the eye work. Every single creature in the world, it's a male and a female, they mate and have offspring. Sun comes up at the same time. The moon controls the tides. You can't just yourself look around the world. Okay, yes, some people can't, because some people don't want to. So what does Hashem do? He hides, sometimes in plain sight, these mind-blowing glimpses of him, these mind-blowing proofs of him. He hides evidence. Evidence. How do you know something without evidence? How do you know that someone committed murder? You got it on video. You have his confession. You got blood-soaked clothes. You got the knife. You got you got everything. Hashem gives us evidence. You can't say to someone, you need to know that I'm your God, and then not give the people evidence. Every single thing that I gave here, does it prove God individually? No. You add it together, you have to be mentally sick to not think that there's a God. And then people say, oh, I believe in God. I'm not asking you to believe in God. God's never once asked you to believe in him. He wants you to know. Why? Because when you know that there's a God, it's impossible you will continue living as you're living without guilt and shame and just knowing that you're living incorrectly. And then what happens? You start to change. You do what I did. You go to a qualified Orthodox rabbi and tell him, don't give me the runaround. Tell me the truth about life. Why? Because Hashem's seal is emes. It's truth. And with enough learning, enough investigation, enough just feeling the religion itself, feeling what a Shabbos is. When you start keeping Shabbos, you can feel Shabbos. You do not get this feeling on any other day, I will guarantee it. Ask anyone that really keeps Shabbos, they'll tell you the same thing. The day itself is just, it's infused differently. You feel differently. I gave probably 20, 30 different examples. Again, there's an infinite amount of these. You put all these together, you start to see, what's the point of this? You start to see, no, the Torah was not given randomly. It was given by a supreme creator, the King of Kings. How can you listen to this lecture and just go back to your everyday life? It's impossible. It's truly impossible. If you watch this lecture, then watch it again and think about what Hashem did here. Think about that every letter itself, the shape of the letter, has infinite meaning. I mean, I'm going to do a whole series probably. Maybe someone wants to sponsor a specific letter. Maybe someone wants to sponsor the whole series. I mean, that's going to be a mind-blowing, it's 22 letters. The letters itself. I mean, just look at the Aleph. What's Aleph? Aleph is Hashem's Gematria. Right in the letter itself, people. These lectures are not meant to just, yeah, that's interesting. Honey, what time is that new Netflix series on tonight? These lectures are meant to shake you like a British nanny over and over and over again to shake you out of your slumber. Like I was shaken out of my slumber. I lived my whole life thinking I had all the answers. I'm the master of my own destiny. Being Jewish is just being a good person, or lighting Hanukkah candles every once in a while. That is not why you were created. Just like the cup has a specific purpose, so do you. The only way to actualize your potential and your value, something that Esav did not. He had double the potential of Yaakov, but he failed because he had no connection to Hashem. Use these things. Go back, watch this over and over again. Do the math yourself. Go back and put these into the computer and see that Hashem put these amazing codes and numbers and just synergy inside the Torah. To what? To let us know, yes, there is a very easy way to prove Hashem. You have to have the desire and the yearning and the want to do it. Because once you do it, like I said, it is impossible to live your life not wanting to engage in the world and the path that Hashem has for the Jewish people. I want to thank my dear sponsor, Lisa. If anyone wants to sponsor a lecture, now's the perfect time to do it. There's 6 weeks left until Rosh Hashanah. I would behoove everybody. You want to go into Rosh Hashanah with the most amount of mitzvahs in your bag. You sponsor a lecture. Thousands of people are watching this lectures. You're getting literally tens of millions of mitzvahs, by doing this. Go into your trial, which is Rosh Hashanah, with a very big satchel of mitzvahs and say to Hashem, you know what? I wasn't perfect this year. There's a lot of things I'm still working on, but I know how your world works. That's why I took the tzedakah money that you blessed me with, and I am reinvesting it in Torah, which is the reason that the world was created. Wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful day.